Citizens Representatives. Welcome to the broadcast, gentlemen. Let's start off. J Smooth, Rude Awakening. I know you guys have gotten solid answers for this one. J Smooth, what is your most embarrassing moment in World of Tanks?
You guys haven't been watching it the last 2 weeks?
Ouch! No! Dang!
Can't hide behind that, man.
Wow, okay, I'll take that. That's a good answer. Dang. All right, a little real, maybe. Rude Awakening. Rude Awakening. Can you top that? Can you top that with your most embarrassing moment in World of Tanks?
I mean, there's just so many, but there's always that time when you prepare your team so much for like a map, and then you're like thinking, okay, we're gonna have defense first, say on Himmelsdorf, and then we accidentally bring the wrong lineup, our offensive lineup, instead of the defensive lineup on Himmelsdorf. That's happened before, so yeah, that's pretty embarrassing.
Oh no, you go into the battle like, all right, guys, we're gonna do Himmelsdorf attack, and then you don't realize you should have looked down and seen it was defense the whole time.
Exactly.
Oh,
yeah.
no, that one's painful.
I think Rival actually did that last season. They brought their defensive lineup on Proc with a bunch of heavy tanks.
Why you got to bring that up? Why you got to bring that up? J Smooth already put it out there for
J Smooth knows what it feels like.
I don't know what you're talking about.
All right, guys, let's get into this. Rival, this is your last match that you can win for round robin 1. If you guys don't win this one, it's gonna be rough for round robin 2. What are you guys doing right now? Are you guys able to turn it around? Is it finally working?
We're trying. Things just keep happening. I don't think we've ran the same lineup all year. Tonight, again, I got called in. I'm going to have to leave right after this, so I won't be in. Might help the team, actually. Pub will be back in. He's been out with work stuff. We've got some connection issues. Hopefully those were fixed. And then players leaving, coolers coming in. So it's been rough, but we have no excuses. We're too much of a veteran team to be struggling like this. And we just got to do things better, cleaner, and put the time in, and it hasn't been happening.
All right. Always what we expect from your J Smooth. Just keep on trying, but sometimes there's always that one team. Now,
Rude. So far this season, or at least the last couple of match days, Pompous has been almost a non-factor compared to how he has been last season and the early stages of this season. Are you guys going to do anything to directly try to support him or get him more involved than he has been?
I think Pompous plays a solid game. He just, he plays high risk, high reward. And honestly, as a team, it's not a single player that, ever carries a team or loses it for the team. It's always a team effort. So for the last really few practices, we've really improved significantly. Our communication's gotten better. Our cohesion is better. Things are improving across the board. It's kind of been a roller coaster ride so far this season. And if we could just play like we practice, we should be very good.
All right, gentlemen. I know you're ready to get right into this battle, so I won't hold you any longer. Any final words, J Smooth?
No, we might be losing at tanks, but I know 4 of us are married and most have girlfriends, so hopefully we're winning at that aspect of life.
You got something else outside the game. Now, Rude, you got a chance for one reply before we let you go.
I'm married. I have a wife.
There we go.
A job,
so hot.
A lot of the guys I know on this team are actually quite successful, so that's really good.
So they're married, you're married, everyone's married, having a great time. We'll see you guys on the battlefield.
Yeah, Exits is married. Yep.
See you in the danger zone.
Oh yeah. I love that. It's like, I'm still winning even if, and then Rude comes back, yeah, but guess what? Half of our team is already hitched as well, so
Now it just comes down to who can play tanks better.
Exactly. We'll see what happens as we're about to get into battle number 1. That's going to be on Murovanka. And, well, it looks like on defense it's going to be top tier. So to start this one off, Rivals got to attack. This is huge for them. Attacking side means you set the tempo. Your defenders, you have a chance to do that as well. But it's really on the attacker's Rival to take a win early and set top tier on the back foot.
Top tier are sitting at a 54% win rate on defense so far this season. So that's respectable. Not great, not Apex level, but it's decent.
Yeah.
And their offense has been struggling, but still, when you look at Rivals' stats in comparison, well, they,
Well, right.
It's kind of they're definitely, you could tell they're struggling, and it really reflects that in their stats.
And the thing is, you look at what J Smooth said in the face-off. He was talking about how his team has not been able to bring a consistent lineup. If you can't have consistent 7 starters all season, I don't care what you're doing in practice. you're probably going to struggle, especially against a team which is able to bring all 7 of those players to practice and then put that exact lineup in their starting lineup. That is right there a huge advantage. Just losing out on that, I've been a part of it, you've been a part of it, where you join a roster or you pick up a new player into your roster that is not your starting player, and they're not quite as in sync with everyone else, right?
Yep. No, I definitely agree. Keeping that same starting 7, that sort of cohesion, it makes you move a little bit faster, and it can be what you need to really, get the advantage over your opponent. Now, we'll have to see, though, if, even with the roster change, if Rival can still bring the game to top tier right now in our first map of the series.
Muravanka, a map with a great number of buildings, bushes and trees, amongst which teams hide for most of the battle. The attacking team begins the battle from the top of the village, and the defenders start from the bottom of the map. Both bases are better controlled from the hill near the first base, and from the green in the lower left corner of the map. There are many attack directions. The attacking team often attempts to gain the attention of defenders by putting pressure on the first base, whilst manoeuvring several tanks behind the second base to deliver fire into the defending's flank. Team setups are very diverse, but the players often choose the fastest tanks, even for heavy setups. They could even bring SPGs.
And here we go into battle number 1. Rival, a Kronwagen 4 Batchats, an SGRV 103B, and Pub Whisper back in the RU 251. Top tier, on the other hand, Kronwagen, a Grill, 3 Batchats, a TVP, and an AMX 1390.
All right. Opening moves, though, from Rival are not super aggressive at all, actually. Unknown One holding rather far back. Pub Whisperer in the RU, taking his aggressive route down the 8 line, which is, Pub Whisperer is taking a very risky route, is what I should say, because as you can see, evidenced by him taking a lot of damage, getting tracked in the open 766, he needs to take one more, and he will go down. Yes! Zitz gets that, and Rival is already down one huge scout in the opening run. High risk, high reward. That's what that was right there. What the route that I saw Pub take in his opening run, it was completely blind up until the end. Of course, it's also completely safe up until the end, where he does a loop. And, well, top tier was ready and waiting. That's going to be the tier 8 scout down for Rival, and they're also down now by over 1,000 hit points. And of course,
that's also just a gun out of the fight.
Well, yes, of course. Not even mentioning that part. Rival has got to figure out what they're going to do. They don't have a lot of options. They're disadvantaged. They're probably starting this one on the back foot, knowing that this is going to be a rough series for them. They've had a rough time this entire season, and top tier's in the driver's seat.
Looking around, not a whole lot of movement coming out of Rival, even though they're the attacking team right now. Just maybe hoping that top tier get impatient, make a rotation.
Sometimes that does work out. You slow it down. You hope your opponent decides to go for a move that is, shall we say, a little risky, or they assume. You could be hoping your opponent assumes you're going to be shifting around to another side of the map, decides to flex as a result. But without any intel, and with only about a minute and a half wasted, top tier can confidently sit where they are and just play their role. So Zakum's going to be moving up in the Kronwagen, going to try and poke out, see what he can see. And he possibly could start moving forward and put pressure on the cap. Now the position from Rival, if you look at the layout based on the mini-map currently, you'll notice that the Batchats are clustered in about, that is Delta and Echo 5 and 6. And in that position, the purpose is, when top tier reacts to the current position Zakum is moving into, now that he has just jumped on cap, that reaction is going to probably be a flank from the east by top tier tanks. The response Rival is hoping to make is send their 3 Batchats to deal a little damage onto those flankers. Now, what's important for Zakum to do is to not take almost any damage. But what he does not realize, Rox, and I think you've probably noticed this one already, is Cucaracha Ciega.
Fixer Reloaded.
Exactly. Fixer Reloaded is his other name. He's a Batchat on top tier. And he is in a position where, once the time is right, he could just peek on out, and he's going to be able to put a shot or two into the side of Zakum and probably do that, make that reset happen. Now, he may be able to get that reset, but if Rival's strategy here works out, if it pays off, what we'll see is
Rude Awakening gets lit by Flack in the bat chat.
And he's out in the open. Shots fired. 7:55, and there he goes. All right. That's a tier 8 pickup. Nicely done by Rival. That puts him back at an even placement. Hit points about even, slightly in the favor of top tier. But this is good. This is what Rival
I actually really like this out of Rival. Look at this. They have the cap pressure there. Now, Zakum takes some damage unnecessarily from Fixer Reloaded.
That was Fixer's doing his job. That was Fixer's position. He was meant to be there to do that. Zakum took a lot of damage. You could say unnecessarily because maybe he could have backed down on the backside of the hill. But ultimately, that was the point.
But look at this. Zakum can be the cap pressure. This is what I like about it. Zakum's the cap pressure right now. And if you look at it, they've taken up positions all along the F line in all these buildings. So they're safe from the tanks south or the tanks up on the hill on the 3 line. And they can cover any sort of push that happens onto Zach to get the resets. The thing they haven't accounted for is Fixer Reloaded in this bat shed over here. The only tank that's in position to stop him is this STRV-103B, or commonly known as the S-Tank, sitting back at C1.
Exactly. So once that happens, we'll see how it pans out. But we've gotten the one Rude Awakening pickup, and I think that's going to tell top tier not to move around to the east, right? They already know that there's a bunch of bat chats out to the east. Maybe we should go for a west side, take out Zakum, something else. But if Rival sits still too long, I think that gives top tier the advantage. They're going to be able to respond appropriately. Put the Kronwagen in the correct position at least.
Yeah, they get the reset onto Zakum. Only costs Fixer Reloaded 391. And now he's going to back down and not peek again and wait for another few minutes, another minute and a half to go on cap, and then poke out for a reset. And he can keep doing that until he dies and get another 2 or 3 resets if Rival don't punish him quickly enough. And that could just completely kill out the game from there on.
But the difficulty with this is I just looked at Commander J's POV, looked at Executus, looking at Unknown One. They have to fire through a number of bushes in order to get the shot that they want. So it's very difficult for them to succeed in that regard. Now, I think the next person to focus on is actually the Kronwagen, Alkako, from the top tier. He's finally moved up into position. He may be able to peek around and get shots onto Zakum as well. And if he's able to do that, then there's another angle for reset, even if we see Ciega go down. But he is spotted. He's out in the open trying to back off. And he's looking to try and find that shell, not connecting.
Well, he connects, he just bounces.
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Kronwagen turret armor is extremely strong. The Batchet fire at APCR is never going to pen it, at least from the front.
And Batchets don't bring HE. They just don't.
There's just not enough rounds carried by that tank to make it even worth it.
Oh.
And a good shot into there, and the cap pressure is actually being built up. And now they've brought a second tank onto cap. They're going to hide him behind Zakum.
That's the Kronwagen that we were talking about.
That's the reset, and now Zakum's out in the open. Is Fixer going to peek and get the reset? Or just not get the reset, but take him down?
That's...
He misses the shot. He puts it into the building. That could have been Zakum dead. He's extremely fortunate there that Fixer Reloaded wasn't able to get in their shot into him.
That's possible. But the thing is, Ciega has taken a lot of damage. He knows that tanks from Rival are getting better and better at putting shots on target. And now Unknown One has moved up and is going to be ready for when that next peak happens. Now there's also 2 tanks on cap. Another note. And, well, it depends on the response from top tier. Are they going to let this cap out? Are they going to try and find their response? The damage is starting to kind of find its way into top tier tanks. So you got to give it to Rival. They are putting the pressure on, and this is going to have to be the push right now. Top tier cannot wait another second. Akako's moving up and over, and he goes for it, gets the reset. All right,
and now
that
TP,
works.
And it looks like they were about to push forward and just go for the jugular. They decide to back off, and actually it's Rival up on HP right now. They're doing a pretty good job at punishing top tier.
Top tier has had to lose a lot of hit points in order to make these resets.
Delph's going to come in.
And that's going to be 3 on cap now. Zakum Unknown.
They're going to push around. They're going to go for Delph.
Unknown, though, getting a little aggressive.
It's going to take a lot of damage. Now Zakum's going to come around, put his last shot in there. Executive sitting there staring over at Fixer Reloaded, does get the kill, and now they're just going to keep rolling, and they have top tier on their back foot.
Yes, they do. One more shell. That's going to take down Delph. Zitz is also a one-shot. Flat comes up, gets that kill. And now 3 tanks remain for top tier against the 5. The 2 of them very low. Now 4 of Rival. A few tanks on reload, but this is looking really good for Rival. It's a battle number 1. This could actually set a strong tempo for them.
Akako,
3 tanks now
only
on cap.
tank in position to get the resets. 10 seconds left.
Actually, Akako, is he reloaded in time? Is the question.
Zakum's reloaded. Akako's going to come around the corner. Zach's going to put a shot into his drive wheel. He's actually going to take a shot in return. Commander J's going to pull in front, try to simp for him. Commander J's just saying, shoot me, but Akako's going to shoot right past him and kill Zakum.
And actually, Knight's going to go down as well, as Miral's going to take him down. Looks like Hako and the Kronwagen goes down.
It's a 2v2. We have 2 Batchats up versus a Batchat and a Grill 15.
So this is very quickly turned on its head. Where we did a moment ago see Rival in an advantage.
Pompous takes a shot, gets a connection though onto Flak, puts him down to 91 HP, but Commander J picks up the kill.
And now Commander J is sitting on 1 shell. Flak is incredibly low on hit points. And it's going to be up to Muriel.
And they can't cap anymore. Just enough time expired. They had to get on cap that second. Now it's going to be up to these Batchats to chase down Muriel, and they don't know where he is.
They won't be able to do it. They don't have the damage either. Flak doesn't have the damage. Commander J's on reload. He's searching the wrong direction. Commander J is also the high hit point tank. So this should go to top tier. It would have to
barely
be
squeaked that game out.
Wow, that was so close to being in Rival's hands. And they barely lost it. Strong play, though. I got to give it to Rival. That was strong right up until the end. And I think that comes down to a lot of that experience, that team cohesion that Rival's been searching for and having trouble finding. Once they're able to do that, that looks like a play that in the future is going to work out just fine.
Merle's headed into the forest, drove away, and then said psych, turned north, going up to A0, and Rival, not even going to check it. They're going to drive straight south, assuming he's down there somewhere.
And nope, not going to find him.
Not going to find him. And that is going to be the first victory of the night to top tier.
Wow. All right, top tier just barely gets that one. That could be crushing for Rival because they had every reason to win that one. Their responses were correct. I loved it. You saw the Kukurachi Ciega, Fixer Reloaded is what he's known as normally, but he goes by that here in the league. He was in a great position to get resets, but Rival knew that. They had counterfire ready, and they put it out there. They were actually able to almost get the cap, forcing top tier to make incredibly risky plays to get the resets. And just it just really didn't quite pan out for Rival. Even after this, actually. After they lose their scout early on as well, they are able to then take it back. I liked the response from Rival. They're trapped. They knew what was coming.
I really liked the play out of Rival. I liked the idea. But they took too long to really get things kind of built up. They kind of slowed it down. They had one tank on cap. They let him get reset a couple of times, and then they moved more on. I think they could have sped the tempo up there a little bit.
A little bit. And it might have made the difference, actually.
And look at this. Like Hako in the heavy tank coming up big there with 100 defense points, ending up with 121 fantasy points in the first game of the night. And Fixer Reloaded also got a bunch of resets. He got 102 fantasy points just for that game, despite not doing a whole lot of damage. So not bad there out of top tier.
Yeah, that works.
It goes without saying, but top tier actually have 4 players in the most fantasy point, top 25 the most fantasy points so far this season. That's that's up there with Apex and Eclipse.
I'm actually being told right now that we have one more final update for our off-broadcast matches, which were pretty much blowouts. Apex versus Dare.
Chase Potato getting evaporated right there. Apex pushing in here, just going blow for blow. Got Emperor Brett getting caught out in the open by the 50B.
But it looks like Dare's just not able to hold up to Apex. As check on the scores, Apex takes that one 5-0. And also the update for Eclipse versus 07 Gaming. Eclipse wins 5-0 over 07 Gaming. So
I said this Thursday, and I'm going to say it again right now. Eclipse is saying Apex, M60s, anyone else in the league, we're on fire, we're ready to go, we're rolling full steam, and we're coming for that second place spot for the finals.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. They were worrying me early in the season, but after a match against 07, that's not bad. But anyway, back to the match. Rockstar.
Looking at the lineups, Rival, an IS-7, 4 Batchats, a TVP, and an RU-251. Top tier, a Kronwagen, 4 Batchats, a Grill 15, and an M40-43.
Okay, so what do you think about this lineup? How's this going to go? Top tier's on attack. They've got the arty, slow play it, push the cap on the west side, and just hope for the best.
I like bringing the artillery as the attacker, but that also kind of signals to me that they're most likely going to go for a one-cap play. Bringing the artillery and going towards the 8-9 line, what's not unheard of. It's definitely difficult to pull off, so we'll have to see if they try to go for it. And Rude's actually just going to sit and spawn, essentially, at this point, in that artillery. Meanwhile, Rival setting up with a fairly standard 1-2 line defense at this point.
And
Pub Whisperer,
early spot onto Pub. He's going to have to get out because those Batchats are just now getting loaded.
And I like this from Rival, taking map control. They spotted a couple tanks over in the forest, and they're just pushing straight on through the one cap. They're coming over here. They're hoping to catch maybe Delth out. And also, Rude is not even out of the fight yet. He's in the open. He could go down as well.
Actually, yeah, Delth is pretty far out there, but cover fire should be there.
But they're going to dive into the buildings, though. There's not going to be a lot of return fire. And Del's actually going to go down here in a second. And Knight and Unknown One are just chasing him down. Knight goes for the ram, and now the trades come out for top tier. They put some shots into Knight.
Oh, and Rude gets spotted, too. The Artie's going to be out. He should be out. There he goes.
All right, and now Rival just needs to pull back. They need to get out of there. Can Knight get out of there without going down?
Possibly. It's going to be thin.
That's going to be 2 tanks down for top tier.
Nice opening play. That's the aggressive play we need from Rival. That's the kind of stuff I like seeing from a defender. You don't have to sit back and let the attacker.
This is the Rival that we've been missing.
Yes.
The creative Rival, the Rival that does their homework, that makes these plays, that gets aggressive. This is what I like to see.
Yeah, and there is risk out there. Of course, they paid a lot of hit points in this. Knight's very, very low for it. But 2 tanks, 2 kills like that, and now
look at this. Now Zakum and the I-7 is going to come up here and get point blank versus these Batchats, and he's just going to be able to bully this corner.
Oh yeah, and he's a really solid IS-7 player too. So I would not doubt this is going to be he's going to make this difficult.
Now top tier are putting out some good damage. They do pick up Knight, but they're bouncing shots off Zakum's front plate left and right.
IS-7's a tricky tank. Don't doubt it. And the damage he's actually able to put out.
Pompous actually tracks Zakum for no damage.
Yeah, and now there's a lot of autoloaders wasting shells in Zakum. He's made himself worth it.
Now Zakum's going to come over. He's going to find exits. They're going to put shots into him. 882. Pompous does not end up getting the track shot on Executus. Takes him down.
Now all of these autoloaders should be on reload right now from top tier.
And these Batchats are coming in. They know it. They're going to go for Pompous first. Put the shots in there. Now Pompous does take Zakum, gets another kill.
Sure, finally he gets it. Sure, that's a bound to happen though after 3 or 4 minutes. So that's awesome for Rival right now. Top tier though, getting caught off guard by a huge margin.
Now can Rival close this out?
Because 3-on-3.
This was something that struggled them last season, was this sort of late game play, trying to close it out. Pub Whisperer stayed far too long. He's going to get isolated. Akako's going over the top. He might find an unknown one coming around the corner. He's lining up the shot, and he takes him down. And now all of a sudden, it's a 3v1.
Oh, what in a moment! Rival looked amazing, but they did not play it tight enough on the counter push. When top tier wasted all of those shells on Rival tanks, specifically Zakum and the IS-7, when they wasted all of those shells,
when Rival pushed back in, I think they stopped their counter push too soon. I think they needed to carry that through. Zakum had the constant fire tank. They needed to push in. They needed to take more guns out of the fight. They may have taken some damage in the process, but I think it was more important to get these Batchats down and just say leave Akako with his Kronwagen. It has terrible DPM and he's slow. Yeah. If they had taken down the other 2 Batchats, kept that going, they may have been able to still win this. Now it's Flak versus Akako, Merle Shikta, and La Crucha Ciega.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
La Cucaracha Ciega.
La Cucaracha Ciega. It's a very tricky name, isn't it?
Yeah, as is Merle Scarata.
I just call him Muriel. Muriel. One of those. You just call him that for short. You don't have to say the Scarata part. Generally, you can call people, like, you just listen to their comms and you'll hear the way they talk to each other, and that's how you have to shorten it. Because otherwise, these guys have these 3-syllable names. It's just impossible.
Well, that's why your nicknames just become Rue over the years. And
exactly.
People just call me Rocks half the time.
Yeah,
and now Black gets caught out in the open. Kronwagen getting aggressive on that corner, gets the track shot.
That's a lot of track
all 3 guns.
That was a lot of track shots. And he goes.
And that's going to be a 2-0 lead for top tier. But Rival, I like that. I like what I saw there. If only they could do that every time, they might actually start getting some nice positive results.
Just add the little bit, the finishing power, the focus at the end to finish the battle. I think that was what was missing. It felt like they made their play work, which is always the kind of the thing that works out for Rival. Early game aggression, early game, like just engaging your opponent precisely when you want to, and precisely when they don't. Got to give it to Rival. That was wonderful to see. However, I think there's a point to be made about the fact that top tier held on and stayed focused and were able to kill the proper tanks and then stay together and pull out that win. Muriel and Ziz, both Batchats putting themselves on the top of the board for damage. Unknown One in the Batchat showing up and blowing up.
But Akako and the Kronwagen, 2,500 damage, 3 kills. And 86 fantasy points there. Pretty respectable.
Not bad. Not bad at all.
Pompous, well, he had 2 kill shots there. Only did 1,300 damage, 32 fantasy points. And after that, Rude Awakening, I don't even think he left spawn, so I'm not entirely sure how he got 7 fantasy points, let alone any.
That's for being alive and possibly spotting?
Yeah, let's find out. Did he actually spot anything?
Did he spot anything? Find out if he spotted anything in the post game. What's
patrol duty and then 40, 43?
Bottom right.
There he is.
And?
Nope, you got nothing. He fired one shot.
Damage caused with player's assistance 624.
So he did.
That's spotting damage.
So he got
right
spotting
there.
damage. He didn't actually spot any of the tanks first, though.
But he got spotting damage, and that's what's important. Remember, no matter what tank you're in, spotting damage is always important.
All right, so we're actually having some technical difficulties here with one of our admins, so it'll be just a second before we are underway. Now, Rival, that game, they showed some promise. They got aggressive. I like what we just saw on Murrow. But now we're going on to Prokhorovka. Prokhorovka is a map that Simple Tankers on pretty well over the years.
They've always had a strat which involves going directly up the middle and then engaging your opponent immediately. You send a few tanks over, you start a brawl while your opponent's on the way to the hill, and then you follow up with slower, higher DPM tanks who just constant fire into everything down below. If Rival pulls a strat like that this time on Proc, awesome. If they don't, and they go slow, play it more typically, I don't know if that's going to work out. But Proc is one of their stronger maps, especially being Rival is a longer-standing team. They used to be known as Simple Tankers back in the day, and so they've been playing this map and all of its iterations for about 4 years now. So if that kind of puts it in perspective, that's a long time to know a map like Proc.
742, 754, and now 768.
Yep.
That's quite an evolution they've had there almost.
Oh yeah, they know this map inside and out. You could probably ask Jay Smooth, and he could probably chronicle every strategy that's worked and hasn't worked, every typical move position that you would go for, and the way that's all changed throughout the years. That's the level to which these guys should be able to play Prokhorovka. However, when you change formats around, that changes everything. So everything they knew from 2 years ago and onwards is out the window almost.
Yep. Everything
from a little over a year and onwards is pretty much donezo, right? So that's going to be it's tricky for them to find their way back in and find that rival strategy for the new meta.
When I hear Simp and Prokhorovka together, it's not Simple Tankers I actually think of. I remember the first Global Grand Finals between Simp Main and I want to say it was Lemming Train, I believe it was. It was during one of the first Global Grand Finals, and Simp ended up using the 416 even though it was 742. And the game came down to like the last seconds where Crimson actually turned his tank around in the low ground and pointed towards the red line.
Yeah.
Was sitting there trying not to be spotted or found for the last 30 seconds.
I remember that one as well. That
was a long time ago, and that was such like the classics. Despite it being 742 and being a little bit slow, those games were just so tense. They came down to the wire. You wanted Simp to do well because it was the first major international event.
Yeah.
Those are some good memories.
Those were good times. I can think back to so many series where I've seen Rival just amaze us every single time, and that's what you always expect out of them. And that's the tricky part because you've heard it before. You've heard it in the face-offs. It's rough to be Rival. It's always going to be rough. And the thing is, they're the ones who coined the term struggle bus. Yep. They're getting on the struggle bus on the highway to the danger zone. That's all they're about. They're always struggle bus. They've always somehow just had some instability, and it's strange because you see the lineup, you see the major players on the team, and there's always just that missed connection somewhere. And it's just tricky. It's always tricky because it baffles me. I can never find quite the answer.
Well, over their 4 years in the Gold League, they're a team that came in, did all right, got relegated, came in, stayed the next season, relegated.
They're always
after.
Good enough to be on the same level with everyone to be in the Gold League. Let's put it that way. They've never not been in the Gold League.
Yep. And then the first season of 768, 3 seasons ago.
Yeah.
They started that season and they looked strong. They looked on fire. They had high voltage Cabalers they were constantly scrimming against. That's when Noble became a thing as well.
Yep.
And it was those three. It was Noble, then high voltage, and then Rival. And those were 3 powerhouses that season. And keep in mind, this is before Eclipse. While they were in the Gold League at that time, they were fairly weak. Actually, no, I take that back. That was when Eclipse was actually still down in silver, I think. I'd have to check on that one. My memory is escaping me here, but I think that's when Eclipse was still down in the Silver League. In fact, it was for sure.
Yeah, they're newer in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
So maybe I'd have to check back on my history on that one.
Yeah, timing there is confusing me. But anyways,
move on.
Yeah, but looking at it though, they have the promise. They've done some. You've seen them over the years play really, really well. We've seen them with some very aggressive strats, borderline just full team YOLO strats, but it always works because they do it as a team. Their focus fire is good, and their coordination's there, and they put in the time to practice it. But then, this last season and then into this season, it's, they've always been really slow. We only see little glimpses of that. Last season we saw a couple times where it really looked like they had done their homework. They made cool plays. It looked like they had really been they wanted to win almost. And it kind of just feels right now like there's a lack of desire almost in the team, a lack of just that fire and willingness to go for things, like a lack of confidence almost, I'd say.
I would say possibly, but that's a little bit tricky to say, because the thing is, for me, is when I see the way Rival play, I see them playing and they're hungry and they're really focused on trying to get things done. But unfortunately, they just always seem to kind of have a misconnection. It's not that they, don't get it. It's that, they just somehow can't make A plus B equals C. It just doesn't. They just can't quite get to the end. They always get there. They can set up for it, but it's always something falls short, or their opponent shows up in a big way. It's like everyone shows up and plays their absolute best against Rival, is one of the things we used to say.
Well, and I think a lot of it comes down to, they're a team where they've been around long enough, they have the experience, they have the players, and so everyone knows not to underestimate them because they are a good enough team to capitalize on the mistakes.
Yes.
But the problem is when you get a reputation as being that team that's extremely solid, that does their homework. Everyone is prepared for you. They know they can't take you lightly, as opposed to being a team in the bottom half, like let's say Valence right now, to a certain extent. Not to pick on them, but teams go, well, it's just Valence. They kind of get that kind of feel to them, like, hey, they're struggling right now. That they don't really have everything together.
Yeah.
And so teams just kind of not necessarily brush them off, but just they don't do the same preparations they would for, say, if they're about to play Apex.
To be blunt, people don't take them as seriously when you're lower in the standards. Of course, you take a team like Apex, Eclipse, Aquatic a little bit more seriously when they're higher in the standards. They're performing better. And of course, the reason we have a round robin is, to show the comparison between every single team. Everyone plays everyone twice in our league. So you get double results of Apex versus Eclipse. You get double results of 07 versus Aquatic. All of these little bits, you get an extra result, not just one round robin to figure out who goes to the finals, but twice. So, yeah, these teams in first round robin that don't do so well, we might brush them off, but there's also the point to be made that you don't want to underestimate them when it goes to round robin 2, because that could be the point where teams get into a refreshed mental state, where you take a step back and realize, all right, this is the closing point of round robin 1. We as a team can feel like that is closure. We can wrap that up, put it in a box, put a bow on it even, and throw it in, the closet, whatever. Get rid of it. Round robin 2, moving forward, we know what we're about. We can put ourselves, start on a fresh foot, and we get to play a bunch of opponents that we've played before, yet one more time. So that's what Rival's going to be able to do following this match, but they could take that mentality going forward.
All right, well, we are actually going to take a quick break here and let you guys enjoy an RNG video while we kind of figure out what's holding up everything right now. We should be back momentarily.
Technical issues,
like we said. But stick around. We'll be back in just a minute. All right, welcome back, everyone. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. We are just about ready to get back underway, getting everyone back into the training room and everything ready to go. Now, we spent a good time talking about Rival, their history, all that sort of throwback.
Where they came from, their origin story, everything about their lives. You know, we went into their tax returns, everything. We know everything about them.
So, our private investigator go through everything.
Exactly. So now let's talk about Top Tier. Top Tier is a team that has also been around for a little bit, but less consistently. They've been around with Rude Awakening and are known pretty much as Rude Awakening.
Well, and that was E63. We saw him play for Rival last season. He was originally on Top Tier along with Valacio.
Yep.
What other names am I forgetting?
E63, Valacio. Those are two big players to mention.
I mean,
those two alone are people that I could go on for quite some time about. Because like E63... His username, by the way, is named after, I think, a BMW engine.
BMW, the car.
Yeah, exactly. It's specifically just the engine,
right.
The model number. So he has always been a phenomenal player, but gone. Rude Awakening has now got himself a new lineup, a new roster, full of pretty solid players as well. I got to look at Pompous, of course, Zitz. We know him very, very well.
Oghako has kind of come out of nowhere. He actually played with Toper Tier, I believe, during the... Was it Toper Tier?
Yeah,
it's played Reason.
Oghako was a player that also surprised me. I didn't know who he was. I wasn't familiar with him. And then all of a sudden he shows up and he starts doing some work. All right.
Actually, it wasn't Toper. It was just Top Tier that he played with. Sorry, it wasn't Toper Tier. It was Top Tier. He played with them in the qualifiers. He showed up, played very well through the qualifiers, and then now they're here. And so far into the season, he's been playing very well. He's definitely that key heavy tank player that teams need, the player they can pivot around, that can be the tank that goes in there and bullies. He plays the Kronwagen very well.
The same way Zakum does for the IS-7 for Rival, the way we saw exampled last battle, he is the exact same thing for Top Tier.
Yep, so we'll have to see if he can be effective as we head into our third round of the evening.
Prokhorovka, one of the first maps in the game. Teams start at the regular spawn points as they do in standard battles. Bases are separated from each other by the railway, so the defending team has to choose whether to send their vehicles to the left side, playing them in the centre, or to the right of the railway, occupying the hill and a part of the village. The attacking team usually attacks the first base. However, the teams often go for face-to-face confrontations, 7-on-7, in the hilly terrain at the centre. That's why both teams frequently use vehicles with good gun depression angles and sturdy turrets.
All right, Rockstar, talk to me. Take
Lineup.
a look at these.
Rival, an IS-7, an E5, 3 bat chats, a 140, and an RU-251. Top Tier, an IS-7, 3 bat chats, an STV-1, a Grill 15, and an RU-251.
Okay, so with these lineups, no Artie. We're going to be seeing both players probably stack up with their IS-7s one against the other. Although Flack in the T110E5 does say that this is more mid-play for Rival than it is.
I agree. You got
Tier.
the E5 to work the ridges. You have the 140, which has some decent gun depression, but also has the consistent fire. And then you have Pub Whisper in the RU-251, and judging by the setup here, they're actually not going to go for any sort of mid-play. They're going to just go over towards the 1-2 line.
Looks like it, but look at the way Flack's moving. And that does kind of 1-2-3 line play, but you can kind of also look at that as a similar mirror to what you would see if it was more trackside, 5-6 line. And the opening scout run for Pub, nice aggressive little loop. He's going to get himself spotted, finds Rude Awakening, but he's going to be out of there before Rude is. And Rude's going to have to take a much less aggressive opening route, getting him a little bit less intel, but he is able to spot Flack, and that's important. So Flack getting spotted, he's looking to try and get Rude on some kind of second
Exits,
run.
gets spotted, he spots Flack, puts a shot into his cupola.
Nice shot there. Gotta respect that. So that's a little early damage. Just kind of knocks Rival in the face. And the IS-7 from Zakum. Now, what I didn't realize before is what we're going to be seeing from that IS-7 is something we've seen more often from the south, which is a bat chat will probably be pushing him forward when Rival decides they're going to push the 1-2 from north to south.
Well, and he's also sitting in a nice hole down up there where he's going to be really hard to dig out. So if Top Tier decide to push this 1-2 line, he's in a position where he can actually survive for a good little while.
Okay, well, let's figure out what Top Tier are up to, as we're going to take a listen in with their comms.
They have a bat there.
Yeah, I saw. Any more specific?
Yeah, I'm not. Okay, they do have somebody over here. I got lit.
It could be the RU. He's been lit for long enough.
Ah, fuck.
Say what?
Why did they go with us?
He started listening in.
Okay. Also, I'm gonna watch the zero line. I'm gonna get on the zero line.
Hello,
okay?
Reddit.
Calm down,
Alright.
comrades.
Mural.
Oh, no.
Careful, okay?
Yeah.
He's definitely in the low ground. Or he might be on the 2 line. He might be in the 2 line. It's like how we
That's
do
what
like
Roots
on
is
the D2.
Yeah, they're
I think I
probably
hit
on the
something.
2 line. They're probably
I
on the
can't
2
blind for
line.
anyone. I can't blind for anyone. Oh, it's not.
Can I get the STV to be coming over on this divisor here?
I don't really know what I can do over here.
Okay, then never mind. Just stay where you are. Let's get the I-7 over here then. I want
Yeah, no,
I-7 and STV to be peeking a little bit more aggressively and see what you guys are
I
spotting.
don't know.
Miral,
we
cover
don't
me,
have like
cover
any
me.
information right now.
I don't mean to
Thing.
come up there with you, or
Not yet. Let me just see. Just cover me from there. I'm gonna do a little loop through here. See if I'm getting lit.
You want
Probably have a
the...
bat. They probably have a batch on the on C8 or the RU. I doubt the RU rotated all the way to the 1-2 line.
Okay, hold on.
breathing intensifies.
They don't have anybody here, I don't think. I'm not getting lit. So, Miro, let's get you up here, okay? Let's get you up here. We have 7 minutes.
You want to rotate the grill and bat out?
No.
I'll just wait a little.
Here's what's gonna
you
happen.
sure
Here's
about
what's gonna
that?
happen. I'm gonna get Miro to cover me. I-7 is playing aggressively here. STB is playing aggressively here. We're gonna see if they're gonna rush in over here. If the I-7 is not lit, he's probably on the 1-2 line.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, right? So if the I-7 is on the
They're
1-2
probably
line,
heading at B2 right
can
now.
we get one more bat? This bat, just fall back here, so we have 2 people in the back farming.
Yeah, really good. Fixing
Yeah.
it.
And then this guy, you're gonna cover me. I'm gonna work the 0 line. They have a ruse, so maybe I'm gonna try to get this A0 lit. That's gonna be about 5.5 minutes left. By the time we have 5.5 minutes left, I'm gonna start working up this way. If we have this cleared, I'm gonna.
40. Is it 140?
40 up?
140. Okay. So cover me, Miro, okay? So by about 4.5 minutes, we will have cleared, checked the map to about to a quarter of its size.
Ground fix.
If I light half their team here, guys, you guys have to on the 1-2-3 line have to play aggressive, okay?
Yeah, I'm framed on rails.
I'm gonna
Okay, we
move
have
up
5
over
people.
to 2 days.
Mind Reader. Rude Awakening just guessed what the entire strat of Rival was. He's like, that ISF is probably on the 1-2 line. Cool.
RU hasn't been spotted for a while, probably up at A0.
Boom, A0. He's right there. Just perfect call. So credit to Rude for just reading the entire strat. And then, by the way, deciding, yeah, I feel like I know this. Let's do this. I have 0 actual intel. Well, he has some intel, of course.
A little bit.
But he doesn't have enough hard intel to know that that's actually true. And now Pub Whisperer gets shot. Shots fired, coming on
Come out as well. She's just going to dump up and over into Rude.
Gets
Try to
closer.
get the shots, but he's going to drive into the bat chat. He's going to try to get into the low ground, maybe keep himself alive, and Rude's actually just going to jump off the cliff.
He's going to
Still
try and delay.
alive.
He's playing the delay game. And he knows he's going down, but
Rude,
he made it
great
last.
shot there.
He made it last.
Now they have control of the 0 line. They can start the cap pressure. However, 3 bat shots have pushed over towards A6.
And this is going to prompt a response. So remember what Top Tier was talking about. They're going to be getting ready to respond to whatever it is that Rival's going to go for, because they know there's something happening. However, note that Rival is not trying to not overreact to losing Pub Whisper. And because of that, actually, that's probably mostly due to the fact that Alhako and Zitz are playing aggressively in the middle. They're going to be taking damage, but the fact that they're showing their faces, the fact that they're just kind of being aggressive, is going to force Rival to think for an extra second or two whether or not, okay, do we really want to rotate out of our positions, or are we just going to get completely obliterated trying to do something like that? On top of it, Zitz is doing a phenomenal job against Flak. The Empire State hatch of the T-110 is not his best friend.
Getting some changes in the next pass as well.
It's actually getting nerfed a little bit, right?
Yeah, won't be as strong. And actually, RU of Rude puts a shot into the side of Flak from distance there.
Nice.
Zitz pokes out a little bit too far, takes another shot. So Rival trading this back. They're still down by about 1,000.
Not bad. And at the same time, we've got Zakum from Rival finally moving up and forward. I think they're going to try and pull their T-110 out of the middle and get rid of him, because he's just not in a good place. The support from Rival is not there. And without that support, he's just going to go down for free. And while you are the defender, 3 minutes, 30 seconds left, there needs to be a strong response. And here it is. Now that we've gotten the IS-7 pulled out of the northwest, Zakum is where he is. That's going to prompt the Grill, Delph, and the Kukurach Siega to move up the 1-2. Not a bad play from Top Tier. We're going to have to see if this is going to work out, though.
They're going to push down. Unknown one Executus. And it
Brill
looks like
doesn't need to flip himself over. That's the one thing that's worrying me.
they're just pushing down, and I don't think they realize they're overmatched. This is basically a 3v2. Executus is going to get caught out in that 140. They need to keep him alive. He's the consistent fire. Unknown one pulling forward to Simp. Now they're going to start shooting him. But now, from behind, and good focus fire, the Grill taking the connection there onto Unknown one. And the return fire, look at this. Not really returning anything at all onto these bat chats. Rival just lost a lot of HP and didn't really return anything onto these bat chats.
How could they have even hoped to? I mean, seriously, against bat chat elements surprise like that, they really didn't have that much time to respond, especially since they'd been focused on firing against other opponents. Nice shot from Executus. He's able to take out Zitz. Now Zakum moving in should be able to get the finishing shot onto Delt in a moment. And top tier, even with an aggressive play, is having to work for it against Rival. However, Rival are at a serious disadvantage. 1,970 should be over.
Yep, Zakum not giving up on it yet. Puts a shot into Pompous.
And Zakum goes down. Executus and Knight are the last ones alive.
And they're just going to box in these tanks in the bottom corner. Executus has no HP essentially at this point.
Knight's just about to reload. And just in time to reload, he's going to be found. And that'll be it.
That's going to be 3-0 in favor of top tier.
Well, top tier is really showing it, and I think that those comms could not have been more perfect. It was like, you notice how the players, we started notifying players when they're getting listened into, and they noticed. So at first it was a little bit of silliness. The guys in top tier can be fun. And immediately, once Rude kind of shook it off, the rest of his team being silly, I liked seeing for a moment that he just showed us a masterclass in how to read your opponent and then how to explain that to your team. He broke down for everyone on his team exactly what he was thinking, exactly what he thought the opponent was doing, to the level that they could all put the pieces together, and he didn't have to fill in any more blanks.
Well,
everyone knew exactly what was going to happen.
Well, and what that does as a caller, what you do is you paint the picture for the rest of the team, so the rest of the team understands what you're thinking and what you're going for when you want to execute. He sat there, he broke down, this is what I believe they're doing, this is what I want to do if this is the case. And what that does is that allows the caller to actually take a step back once the battle starts, because then he can rely on everyone on the team knowing what they need to do, what the game plan is, and to be able to make those decisions for themselves.
And furthermore, if your players aren't aware of exactly what they need to do as a response to any particular situation, if they're not at least told about that ahead of time, how can you expect them to react as quickly as you would like them to with the proper response when that finally comes around, right? It's like, if I didn't tell you that we were going to go into battle in just a few seconds, then you would be far less prepared than when we finally go in, because we're just now going to start the 60
And he even outlined with a timeline as well. He said, look, at the 5.5 minute mark, this is going to be done. If it's not, we're probably done anyways. All right, then we'll go into the next phase, and had it all laid out by timestamps exactly what needs to be happening when. And once again, that just comes down to a good caller planning ahead of time, saying, look, guys, this is what we're doing. This is my thought process. All right, now go execute it. And then once again, that makes it so Rude can just let his players play. He can let them make decisions for themselves, put themselves in good positions, as long as they understand what needs to be accomplished.
Yes, and there's another thing that he brought up about time management, which we don't actually talk about quite that much on the broadcast, and that's managing how much time it's going to take for you to execute a single maneuver. In order for you to take the Northwest on proc, is that going to waste 3 minutes of your team's time that they're going to have to worry about doing other things, or is that going to be 4 minutes? The difference is that important, and if you're not thinking ahead like that, you're going to find yourself out of time, like we've seen so many other
matches. Well, and it comes back down earlier, Rival, the first match, Rival, when they were running that attack on Muravanka. It came down to time management. They couldn't chase down that last bat chat because they ran out of time. And once again, if they had sped up their attack, gotten cap pressure going early, forced that engagement sooner, they may have had more time to clean that up, because overall they played their brawls really well. But at the end of the day, they just ran out of time to chase down that last tank.
Exactly.
As we head into battle number 4, Rival and IS-4, 3 Batchets, 2 140s and an RU-251. Top tier, an IS-7, 3 Batchets, an STB, an STRV 103B, and an RU-251.
All right, so what are you going to expect out of these lineups? Because the Object 140s, 2 of them, says a lot more mid-play maybe from Rival. Or, actually, wait.
Raw aggression, trying to beat up on Batchats while they're reloading.
Could this be... It's not going to be the down the middle, is it? That's not possible. because
Two of these tanks are
similar
already going off
enough.
towards the one line.
Yeah,
But they're going to go for some early damage. 140 is going right for the middle. What they're going to do is they're going to get up here. They're going to peek, and they're going to try to get off 2 or 3 shots on these tanks as they rotate out and maybe get some early damage, and then they'll back down. They're not going to commit. They're not going to do classic rival, but they're going to do an iteration of it.
Okay, fair enough. Now, Rude Awakening goes up and over, doesn't go around the rock, decides to keep it a short loop, and actually, Flak got close enough that he was not spotted, I think. And so, yeah, he didn't spot Flak. He did not realize he was so close to the mid. If Flak stays hidden, he might actually be able to get some surprise damage onto tanks from top tier. But Delth, he's chilling out in the mid in his STB. He should be just fine.
And what I like from Rival is once they got those 140s spotted, they called off going over because they knew the rest of these guns would be staring at that ridge, waiting for those tanks to peek up and over.
Exactly. Now, early on in this one, you're seeing Pub Whisperer is off in the east. He's gotten a very early jump on the position that is actually being spotted out by Rude Awakening. So just opposite of Pub, there is a tank just there waiting to spot him. So if either of them aggresses too much on the east side, I expect that they'll take a little damage for it. And there, Pub moves around. So what we saw from top tier last time, at about 7-minute mark, 8 minutes and 30 seconds, Rival's getting faster. They're responding faster, their tempo is going, and they're clearing the northeast faster than top tier did last battle. It's a note to make, because once they get past this point in the battle, oh no, and Rude is actually moving out to that side of the map as well, and I don't think he realizes that Pub is up there. So Pub, depending on how he plays the position, I'm waiting for it. I want to see if Pub gets the spotting, and he does. Rude spotted. He knows he needs to bail. They both trade. No damage dealt, though. And they're
Now
going
it's
to
going to be up to the bat chat of Executus to get up here and help Flak out and get Rude Awakening down. But
I don't think Executus actually has shots on that position. Rude Awakening is in a little defilade where there's just enough of a hill that Executus from the hill cannot fire on that tank. So Rude chose a very good position, a very safe position to kind of hunker
it
down.
looks like Rude's actually going to try to leave now. He got unspotted. He knew Pub that backed off.
And Pub's moving around, actually, back into his old position, where he's going to try and cover the escaping position from Rude. Little does he know, there he is. He actually doesn't spot him at all. You can see that Rude is just escaping up and over the tracks. Pub has no idea where he is, because Rude, at the exact right moment, moved across the river. Had he not moved across the river exactly when he did, as soon as he did, he would have been taking damage. That is not the case now. So, solid play by Rude, very sneaky against Pub, who's, by the way, no joke as a scout.
And Executus is actually creeping up on the riverbed, trying to get underneath Rude Awakening, but they don't realize that he's actually backed out and gone to a new position. As I say that, Rude does light Executus, and now Rude's just going to back away.
Yeah. He's going to be able to leave. He knows it's not safe to stay here. The cover fire does exist, but it's not that strong. And Zakum, oh no, takes 1,232. Rivals' chances for a successful attack are starting to slip away if they cannot find some proper response. Zakum's lost his driver, and the IS-7's already a tank that needs as much as it can get as far as help for mobility. And
what they need to do right now is they need to get some cap pressure going. The tanks are in a good position because what they can do is they can bait tanks having to come back to reset that 2 cap. And when they do that, they can get aggressive with these tanks on the other side of the map.
Top tier recognizes that, though. Look at them. They're grouped up. All these bat jets. Look at the bat jets. There's so many bat jets. And Pompous in the S-tank. They're moving forward at the same time. You've got cover from the bat jets in the back. Commander J is lit. Unknown One is going to have to escape as well. And in a moment, you're going to have top tier with east side control. Yes, that's going to force Rival into the east side of the map. But I'm guessing, or my assumption is that Rival's going to be taking damage as they try to escape.
And goodbye, Commander J, because Pompous is going to come over here. He actually hasn't spotted Commander J yet. Commander J just tugging the red line, and Pompous actually forward. Now he's spotted, and now all these bat jets are going to have shots. Going to start pumping out shots. Pompous putting one, 1,200. 1,600, and there goes a tank.
Rest in pepperonis. All right, that is a strong play by top tier. They are attacking right at the moment when Rival was preparing to do something about it. And yes, there is the cap pressure. 3 tanks currently sit on cap, and it's going to be a lot for top tier to actually make
This is going to come down to
reset
the unknown
happen.
one. Unknown one has to run the screen like a boss. He needs to stop them from getting through. He's going to block Akako. Now he needs to block Zitz. Zitz is going to go for the ram. And now Akako's just going to push straight through.
One
no,
shell.
no
that's all it
reset.
needs to
No
be.
reset. They couldn't get the lights.
And there's,
That's the cap.
that should be it.
That's it.
Well played. All right.
Talk about pulling one out by the skin of your teeth.
Yeah, there was only a moment in there where Rival had enough time to get the tanks on cap necessary to get the win. And barely made it. Solid play by Rival. Good screening, I think, was what that was due to. Without
And I even like Akako's play there in the heavy tank saying, you're a bat chat, I have an IS-7, I can just drive through you.
Yeah.
And so he just straight on in, pushed him out of the way. Zitz came around. The problem was that it was just a little bit too late. I think Akako was too worried about going down. I think he just needed to commit, made sure he got the lights and reset, even if it cost him his life, because what happens is they get capped out like this.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're alive or dead. Your team's lost, and everything after that doesn't matter.
What else is important about that is the moment that top tier decided to go for their attack, which was right down the 1-2 line, when they go for that, the risk is that your opponent will then go for a fast cap. Now, the risk that they're taking is they're hoping, okay, Rival hopefully is not prepared to fast cap right now. Hopefully what they're doing is they're preparing to make some kind of move so that they can go for the cap. And we're hopefully going to catch them off guard.
Or there's also the opportunity that they're hoping that, or they know that cap is inevitably coming.
Yes.
They need to find some sort of isolation quick, but if they do it soon enough, they can get back to stop the cap in time, and that's why I think that triggered when they did.
Exactly, and when you go for that, your opponent, who is, instead of going and trying to set up for that, is now being told, oh, we can just go for the fast cap. And if they're fast enough, like Rival was, because Rival seemed to be really up on it, their focus was there. Once you see that, get on the cap, go for the fast cap, get it, you're good.
Yeah, well, for those that have played Clan Wars and Strongholds, they know what a cap race is essentially, where both teams are fighting for the cap, trying to get cap pressure going, and just either trying to stop the other team from capping or cap out first, get a reset or two.
Yes.
And this was essentially the same thing, except because only one team has to attack. What it came down to is instead of being both teams having to cap, it's one team having to go get the kills on one side of that map and then stop the cap on the other end.
It's two teams simultaneously fighting for one
objective. They're just slightly different in this case.
It's win conditions colliding, and Rival was just a moment ahead. They had the advantage in that situation. They made the right choice at the right time. Top tier made an excellent play. Could have worked out, but against a team like Rival, looks like not this time.
Now we're going to be moving on to Himmelsdorf, a heavy map. A map where I think Rival might have a bit better of a shot than we've seen so far.
I don't know. With top tier, I'd expect that the way that they're practicing, they've probably shored up a little bit more Himmelsdorf. If I look at my map picking sheet, I can see that it was Himmelsdorf chosen by Rival. So, yes, Rival intended to go to Himmelsdorf at this time instead of going to Mines. In map picking, there's going to be, you ban 4 maps, right? Get rid of 4. Then
After the first 2 are picked, then it comes down to 2 left, and then it's, whoever team has that pick, they get to decide between essentially the last 2 maps. Now, they did influence it already by having the bans before that.
Mm-hmm.
So, these maps, they obviously feel somewhat comfortable on, or they wouldn't have made it this far into the map pool.
Precisely.
But at this point, it was Rival saying, look, this is going to be a better opportunity for us than Mines. And they've really struggled on Mines so far this season. They've had some pretty bad games on it so far earlier in the season, and even just last Thursday.
But we're about to see how Rival and Top Tier square off on Himmelsdorf. For the lineups, Rockstar, what do you think?
Rival, 2 113s, 250Bs, an I7, a Batchat, and a 1390. A lot of high DPM out of those 113s. Burst coming out of the 50Bs. Batchat's going to be able to open up the rest of the map. Then Top Tier, who are defending, coming in with 250Bs, an E100, an IS-4, a Batchat, a 4005 Stage 2, and a 1390. So Pomp is playing his signature tank destroyer. It's very rare we don't see him in one. Batchat, the IS-4, tank that can play the clock tower, the hold down at A4, something along those lines, be really hard to kill. E100, tank that's just made there, sit in one spot and pump out a decent amount of damage anytime someone peeks it. You have to remember, though, the E100's DPM is fairly low, so it's not a tank you want in a consistent brawl. You want to have it play corner games where it can get into cover, back out, get a shot off, and pull forward. It's like 750 a shot. It's nothing to slouch at.
Exactly. So Top Tier is going to be looking to slow this one down and use their E100, their IS-4, or if they have to go fast, they've got the 50Bs ready to go. They have the FV4005 ready to go to just derp something. So one way or another, it could get dangerous. Oh, hey, what's this?
this looks like a little bit of a trap set by Rival. Now, it looks like they're going to go ahead and abandon it, but they're sitting here waiting for some sort of aggressive 1-2 line, maybe an early rotate out of top tier. Clearly just sitting here, just waiting. And I feel bad for whoever finds these 4 tanks, because that's pretty much instant death.
Yeah, and look at that. A little damage from Executus onto Rude Awakening. Not bad. And also they spotted the E100. So right now, Rival's going back to old school tactics. Saw that southeast play. That's something I haven't seen for a while. That's been years.
Yep. And then the 50Bs that are over here on the 8 line, they are isolated. Now, this is a strat designed to try to catch people out. They're sitting far enough back that anyone coming down the 8 line will not proc spot them. They will not be spotted until a tank actually comes around that corner. And hopefully they can use these 2 autoloaders. You've got to remember that's 1,600 damage in each clip. 2 of them, that's 3,200 damage. Between these 2, they can clean out a tank in a little under 8 seconds.
Okay. So we just have to see if they
now the problem
find
is
anything.
The problem is now that they're 50Bs and they're isolated. Say a push does come out of the 8 line, if all let's say 6 or 7 tanks comes out for Rival up that 8 line, there aren't a whole lot of tanks in position to cover them. They have no eyes. They have no early warning. So that could be these 2 50Bs that gets pincered out early and take a lot of damage and go down before they can be effectively traded out.
Or there's one play which it's a little strange to kind of suggest, but those 50Bs. You run into a tank, and if you recognize that there are tanks coming from both the east and the west of that position, you can actually decide, okay, if I know I'm going to get pinched in 50Bs, it actually is more worth it in some situations to pick a direction and go with your 50Bs. Just focus on tanks, move forward, kill the things in front of you. The guys behind you are going to have to play catch-up. And if they do, the more distance I have to make them travel, the more inconvenient it is for my opponent to put shots on me, is 50Bs, the more likely I am to survive.
And that comes to any time you're surrounded. Is any time there are tanks on multiple sides of you, you just need to group up, pick a direction, and go. If you're surrounded, you're already in a bad spot. You're already in a world of hurt.
Exactly.
So there is no harm in grouping up and just pushing one direction and trying to find an isolation. Get all the tanks on one side of you. Make it so you can angle your armor towards one direction instead of multiple directions. Look at these 50Bs just goofing around at this point.
I know, that's what you do. You gotta find some way of staying entertained. Just gotta dance. Dance at tanks. Yeah, that was pretty good. All right, we had a moment. It's over. Thank you, top tier. I love how they just kind of stopped as if they're like, yeah, I think we're good now. I think that was enough.
Merle Shikta just chilling out in the train station. Pub Whispers pushed all the way up the 1 line, and it looks like for the second time tonight, we're actually going to see a 1-2 line play out of the attacking team.
All right, that's one way to do it. Holding back so you don't waste a lot of damage or you don't put shots out. Rude not taking the damage that could have just destroyed his tank. And from way down south, are those 50Bs, Commander J and Knight, going to be able to put shots onto Rude? No.
Rude's not going to peek out. He knows he's still lit. He knows there's a gun back there. Pompous putting 774 into Unknown One. Heschel not penetrating, but still doing some damage.
All right, and we're going to take a listen in with Rival because they're just about to attack. Let's see what they're going for.
That's not a good shot by him.
No,
That's
the Honda hasn't flexed yet.
Can the 90 get on cap, maybe?
The 4005 is going to splash it, but look what they've done. They're all over here now. Can we just go over here?
Yeah.
Keep the 90 there, but otherwise just cut this map in half some more and get execute. Oh,
50B.
Oh,
Both of
that's what we were missing.
That's bad. Trying to bait their clips right now.
To do that.
All right, they're backing up.
Come on this. They're probably going to weave, but
Unknown, what was that call?
Come down. Try to. They're just weaving, so you can just hold here, and we'll try to pinch to this.
Pompous is staying. The bat has not.
If anything, as long as we have watching on this crossing, right, we can take our IS-7 and 50Bs and we can just kill this.
Yeah.
Because everything else is over here.
Yeah.
The bat and 4005 are still there. They haven't left.
Yeah, let's do that. We have 5 minutes, so we need to do something.
Yeah.
Yep, we're on it.
Good.
Okay, the bat chat, just be ready to find an opening when the E100's not looking. Exactly.
E100, I think, is mostly looking 5-1.
I gotta get back up the hill because I don't know where the 50Bs win.
Yeah, that's fair.
Find them with the face.
Bat is still here.
4005 is still there.
How far do we want to push this?
Push this corner and engage the 100 if you don't find anything.
Okay, now the
and the back needs to be
Okay, exactly. You need to come down.
Yeah.
They might be here, so that's just something to keep in mind. Zach, we need to get ready. We're going to push this 5 line to help. Okay, there we go. So if Zach can get the flank.
Poking you 100 right now.
Let's go. Zach.
4,000
Yeah, no shot.
I think we should be able to get the 100 out, me and Zach.
I should be able to do it.
That's coming behind.
4,005 coming.
Tracks.
We watch that lane. Watch that lane.
Nice.
Okay, can we get the 50Bs now? Zach, what's
Delta just fired 1.
Because we're going to get
2 out of Delta.
Yeah, let's get to that other cubby behind us. Alright. We might just have to go forward.
That's behind. He's fired 2.
Shot on his cross 50Bs. Be very careful.
I'm reloading.
Pump is shot.
IS-4 shot.
IS-4.
4. IS-4.
That's coming behind you. That's coming behind you.
I'll have 1 shot on IS-4.
That's down 1.
I have 6 50Bs.
I'm reloading for 8 seconds.
I have 6. You guys want to take the hits for me?
I need help with Delph, if anybody can. Delph is
I have 8 seconds. 1590 coming in.
I like the read there from Rival, but
The response,
a little bit too slow.
The response from top tier is top notch. As Commander J is going to move out, find Delth, goes for having to put 2 shells into him, and that's going to hurt. As the response from Pompous, he might be reloaded just now, just in time to get a kill shot. Looks like Commander J smartly puts himself into a wall, though, to avoid this. But will it be enough? No, it won't. Pompous gets the kill. Just behind him, Executus and Knight struggle against the remaining tanks of top tier. And with Muriel at full health, he should be able to roll up and just take care of the situation. There he goes, first onto Executus. Should be able to focus and take down Knight. And that's it, solid play. 4 on the board for top tier, match point up next.
The response, and how slow that was out of Rival, that's something that I think they definitely could have done better once they spotted those 50Bs, because you heard the information there. They knew it. It wasn't that we had an outside perspective and we could see everything. You could hear them saying what they knew. They knew that 4005 was over there. They knew the Batchat was over there. They knew the 1390 was over there. They knew they had 3 tanks isolated. The second those 50Bs were spotted on that 8 line, the 113s held the 5 line. They just stayed there. They made sure they didn't rotate out. And then you still, after they spotted those tanks, you still had people asking, what's the call, what's the decision? And it took another minute and a half to get tanks all the way from the south, all the way up into position to get those isolations.
And if you look at that and you contrast that with what we heard earlier from top tier and Rude, you hear how how clear and concise and direct that his direction was to his team. And it provides a perfect example in the situation where Unknown is calling right now, and I don't know Unknown one to be the veteran caller for Rival, but I'll have to kind of check.
He has been calling since last season.
He's been calling, but he's not always been the rival captain. So it hadn't occurred to me actually until just now that he's probably not going to call in a style that's traditionally simple tankers. So that when we've talked about those old school strats, we're kind of asking for something that's not really a part of Unknown One's playbook as much as it was back in the day, so to speak. But you heard how absolutely clear and concise and authoritative Rude's call was for top tier on Prohorovka. And then on Himmelsdorf, like you were saying, there was a call. It did appear as though it was kind of coming together, but also I wasn't feeling it as much as I was with top tier.
Yeah, and looking at it, once again, I think there should have been more pressure put on those 50Bs, knowing that they were isolated. You could have had the 113s just push straight off, go into the 5 line, go chase them down. At the same time, you have the Batchats coming around, and then you use the tanks in the south to cut off the 5 line. You have them swap positions, because that isolation on the 50Bs was their one chance to get a couple tanks down for free. Instead, they let them reposition and stay in the fight instead of potentially having an overmatch somewhere, which, once again, I'm not saying this is perfect, still risk, but I'd rather go for an overmatch somewhere than try to take an even fight later.
All right, now Rox, I'll take this because you just finished up on that big old spiel. I'll take the tank lineup: 113s, 2 of them, 3 50Bs, a Batchat, and an RU-251 for Rival. Top tier will be playing a 113, 2 50Bs, IS-7 Batchat, FV-4005, and an AMX Chasseur.
CPC.
I don't actually know how to say the last bit. I can't say it. I'm just not going to try it. CDC.
So lineups. You did this to me last game. I'm going to do it to you. Lineups. What do you see right now? What are they going for?
All right, Rox. I feel like top tier's going to turn a CDC over on its side and put it on Cap. Why not, dude? That tank's amazing for blocking Cap. And it's also nice and wide, so if you turn it sideways, upside down, it doesn't matter. It's the greatest Cap blocker there ever was. Rifle, on the other hand, who cares about predictions? I'm hoping this goes straight down the 8 line and just goes all the way into enemy territory. I really hope it does, because aggressive opening moves from Rival have a tendency to pay off for some reason. And also, it's kind of funny to watch a bunch of tanks just sitting in a little line like this, all stacked up. Actually, that's not a bad stack. You've got Zakum's got a shot, Flak's got a shot, Knight's got a shot forward, and then you've got an unknown one who actually I think can sneak one right over Flak's turret, and then Commander J will have the late shots for those who try to move on by, but he can just kind of move on out, and he's got shots. He can move back and hide behind the 113s. That depends heavily on tanks coming through exactly that courtyard. Unfortunately, there's no one near that courtyard at all. There are people up on this hill. That's Muriel, hi Muriel, and then Zitz. But they won't be going to the courtyard. So Rifle's probably going to figure out the next thing they're going to do in just a minute. But in the meantime, top tier's going to be wondering, where are all of those Rival tanks? Where did they go, Rockstar? Where are all of the Rival tanks? That's what top tier's.
Look at the spot out of Pub Whisper. He has clear eyes down over towards the 8 line. And if he gets spotted from behind or someone pops up on the 1-2 line, he can just take a hard right, drop into the low ground, and be fine. So great position there. Going to have the intel that they need for that ambush, and he's relatively safe.
And at the same time, he can spot and give a little early intel to tell the rest of his Rival battle buddies that, yes, top tier is on the way. It's
The Batchat of Muriel is going to drop off the hill and come over down towards the K line, towards that 1 cap.
Nice. We'll have to see where this goes. Because in just a moment, well, someone's hopefully going to make the move. And with this west side play, though, from top tier, the adjustment, which, okay, CDC makes more sense now. West side, best side. AMX CDC blocks the cap. Throw a Batchat, probably, right behind it.
Or the IS-7 in this case.
Much.
He's just going to turn sideways, and Akako's going to come and hold down off him.
That works perfectly. And now, battle buddies for life, Akako and Rude Awakening. They'll just cap this one out. Let's take a minute to listen into the response of top tier. That's about to have to defend this cap fast.
The RU must have gone around. I got lit.
Exits. Watch the 0. Watch the 0. That's
just sitting in the window.
I was doing that.
Yeah, there's a bat in the back.
We got the bat. No wait, that one didn't like me. Just make sure you remember.
FE. I-7, can you return?
Yeah.
Watch your back. Watch our backs. Guys, just let's get crossfires in on this.
Holding
coming for me? Yeah, they actually
Pompous, can you hit unknown one?
They're coming for me.
Can you hit unknown one?
Yes, I can. Oh no, I'm dead. There's a deep behind me.
That's good.
Yeah, I'm not gonna engage that.
Yeah, this didn't work. It's okay.
Not
How did they get all the way there?
How did they get that far forward without getting lit?
I don't know.
I shouldn't have really been watching 0 line.
Okay, yeah.
I think I should have been poking mid.
Like, that was, like, they were here by the time they got
I thought the 113 from
way
here
too
was
fucking
awesome.
close.
That's okay.
I can't light them when they go 8 line.
No, yeah.
No, they went through here, dude.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here just... They're not spotted, Randall. They're not spotted yet. Why aren't they spotted?
A blind spot. That was
huge blind spot.
That was like an X-wing taking down a Death Star, right there. They
like
found the one
semi-truck
tiny little hole in that defense, and they just busted right on through.
That more felt like a big rig on the highway with no side view mirrors and just sitting in the blind spot the whole time.
That's a great way to save on gas.
Sitting behind a big rig?
Yeah, it's great. You sit in this little bubble. It's awesome. You just coast on along. You just have to hope he doesn't hit the brakes.
Yeah, that would be bad. Meanwhile, Exit's looking for some shots, bouncing one off Flak. Bouncing another. Knight gonna unload onto him.
Yep. Shots fired.
Another shot.
Zit should know this one's over, but he's gonna keep fighting on though. I gotta give it to Rival. They really read top tier strategy very, very well, and the counterplay that they pulled was excellent.
The biggest thing I actually liked there that I saw is they intentionally didn't shoot the CDC until the cap got down. They let him get the cap points just so they'd have a longer time to respawn. Instead of killing him right away and then letting the IS-7 accumulate more cap points, they let it build up, and then they went for the resets on the CDC way late when the cap had gotten down past halfway.
They realized the CDC was going to be ultimately ineffective in the battle one way or another because he's not actually going to try and fire at anyone, right?
Exactly.
In fact, he might not have... Well, we'd have to check to see if he deals any damage and loads anything. Because sometimes you don't want the CDC to get ammo racked.
Oh, he brought check. Just look, he brought ammo.
Okay,
he had a full loadout.
Because we've seen that before. Amex CDCs have before not brought ammo so that they don't get ammo racked. When you get ammo racked, your turret flies off.
It's been a whole bunch of things. We've seen them first try to use the CDC gets ammo racked, so then the next time they go, all right, we're not going to bring any ammo, so we don't get ammo racked.
And then all of a sudden you need to shoot something.
And you don't have any ammo.
Oh, and it doesn't work out. So did they maybe compromise to bring a little bit less ammo?
No, he had a full loadout.
Okay.
And just look at this push.
I love it.
Didn't even know he's there. No, look at this. This is how you're supposed to push. And this is a perfect example for those that like to play Clan Wars or Strongholds. That was a push from Rival. That was not the first tank stop, aiming his shot. That was everyone pushing through, all shooting them as they drove by, getting alongside, and taking them down quickly. And look at the damages here. Zit's 2,700, no kills, 39 fast points. Unknown One, second time tonight, had decent numbers, coming up there, 63.
Surprise.
Executus in the bat chat. 115 fantasy points, not bad.
Not bad since he isn't like as far as Batchat players go. He doesn't always play it either.
Yep, and then Akako's had a relatively quiet night.
Did Rude fire a single shot?
Rude did not fire a single shot. Took 7 shots to kill him, 6 penetrating, 1 non-pen.
He actually, I don't even think he turned his turret sideways if I was watching.
He wasn't even looking at the other tanks. He had it sideways, so his tank had a bigger profile, made it easier for the I-7 to hold down off him. Because once they turn the turret and they're looking straight at him, it actually has a narrower profile than if it's sideways, a lot larger surface area.
Yeah, it's a nice long turret as opposed to a wide one. So because of that, he doesn't get to contribute at all to the brawl. And I don't even think that really matters as much as the fact that Rival found the one hole in the defense and just completely took advantage of that. So I see you've been looking through your Nuggets Rocks. What do you got for me?
Well, I have that top tier haven't won a round on mines all season.
Okay.
They're 0-2.
Oh, yeah, because, by the way, we're going on to mines now, if you hadn't noticed down below. This is new. I hope you like it.
And then Rival, while they actually have a win on mines, it's not a very nice record to have at 2 out of 6.
Oh, so either way...
That just leaves us as a toss-up, and that could be going back to Himmelsdorf, which just went 1-1.
Yeah.
Defenders winning both rounds.
But the way Rival played that second Himmelsdorf, I like Rival and Himmelsdorf now.
But here's the other thing to look at, and I can't even think about this off the top of my head. Who had the fastest attacking victory tonight, if we get that far?
Oh, I can check. I can definitely check on that
because let's say Rival do get the win right now. They get 2 wins on mines. I'm not saying it's going to happen because I just don't have that much faith in Rival's mines play.
Attack, battle number 2, Muravanka. Top tier.
Okay, so they would pick, and they'd probably pick defense again because both teams just won defense in Himmelsdorf.
That's so far, by the way. That's not on mines. Mines is one of the ones that goes faster sometimes.
This is also true, and we're not done yet, and this is a big if.
Yeah.
Rival can win both rounds, which I don't know if they have it in them.
There's a lot of pressure to succeed here. And it'll come down to whether or not Rival's able to take the risk and walk away with the wins, or if top tier is able to just respond to one of these 2 battles appropriately and just get that win.
Lineups for Rival, an I-7, 4 Batchets, and 2 T-10s. Top tier, a Kronwagen, 2 Batchets, 2 TVPs, a Grill 15, and a T-54 lightweight. Interesting pick there, going for the lightweight. Doesn't boost as well as the RE-251.
Yeah.
I know Rude played his T-54 the other day, so he definitely has a preference for the Russian mediums.
2 T-10s, though.
2 T-10s, and they're defending, and it looks like they're just going to go for the brawl outside of Executus going for the bush on the 1 line. Or on the 0 line, excuse me.
And the opening moves. standard jumps coming out of top tier to take the hill. And actually 2 T10s and an IS-7 going towards mid says...
And the Executus has the zero line boost completely unopposed outside of the T-54 lightweight.
Does this really work, though? I don't know if this really counts as a viable strategy because there's so much damage waiting.
Well, and now all these TVPs are trying to kill Executus essentially as bait. And now these heavy tanks are getting aggressive because they know these TVPs just fired a whole bunch of their shots.
Yeah, it's possible, but I'm not sure. I don't think I saw that many shots fired, did I? And here's the up and over. Knight taking most of his hit points in the opening volley, taking almost all of them now. Commander
Still
J
alive, though.
Leads the way, and yeah, he is. They do make it up to the top. So credit where it's due. Rival has the high ground. Top tier has been relegated to the low ground and to the backside of the hill, where, yes, they can respond, but it's going to be very tricky for them to actually make this work. As, well, the advantage is to Rival. Hit points, though, to top tier.
They can actually, if they act fast enough, they can actually pincer out Merle Shikta and Delft still. If they leave the 2 tanks on the hill, use these heavy tanks to push up and along the 4 line, they can definitely get the isolation there.
And there's Kronwagen, ex-soldier. Unfortunately got himself stuck a little bit.
And Rival need to make this play because there's tanks dropping down below, so they need to just push up and over. They know they have an isolation. Commander J looking for the shots towards exits, but he actually drops down into the low ground. So now they just have to worry about Delft and Merle Shikta.
But ex-soldiers just now getting back into position. The TVP way down south, Le Cucaracha has gotten around, and he is now looking at, looks like Executus. And there's the damage. Unknown one's done. Zakum, incredibly low. The damage is not there on top tier. Not seeing the damage being dealt. There, finally, Delft is down. Okay, you've just paid 2 T10s. Those are your slightly lower tiers, but very important tanks all the same. Paid with those. The Cucaracha is able to actually escape. That's a big deal. And because of that, he might be able to actually still contribute to the fight later on.
Rival down about 3,000 HP. They have an extra gun alive. Rival bringing 2 tier 9s and sacrificing both of them.
This should be a top tier win if they can play it correctly.
And Flat getting the track shot on Rude Awakening.
But the responses from Rival are appropriate. Knight's got a beat on Rude. Oh, but the return fire from Rude. I'm loving it. Gets the kill. Flak is taken down by about half his health, and that's when Muriel and ex-soldier Zitz as well are going to move on up. And they'll either take down Pub or they'll take down Flak in a moment.
Executus does find Fixer reloaded.
Took him a moment.
And he might be able to push in unless he gets picked off by the grill of Pompous. And that just sealed the deal. That's it. That's everything over. Now top tier are just going to push in. They're going to find Pub Whisper, and then it's all going to be down to Flak and that IS-7.
And one more shot from Zitz. He's going to sink it, and that's going to be it. Now, well, IS-7's well armored, but not this well armored. Top tier's played an excellent game. They were put at a disadvantage. Rival puts them on the back foot, but they know how to respond. They know how to deal with it. And well, we end up with the series going, what is that, 5? 5-2.
5-2, actually the longest series we had tonight.
Yeah, got to give it to them. I don't think anyone predicted this quite as much to be as close as it was. A lot of people were saying that top tier should 5-0. I think that's very negative towards Rival, especially a team that's...
They showed, once again, and they did this all last season, and they've done it earlier season. They show moments, just single moments of just near brilliance where they look great.
And you're like, yes, I love this strategy.
Do this all the time, Rival. Just keep doing it.
Well, then they try to do it all the time, and that's kind of the problem, isn't it? Is the fact that when you do that all the time, it kind of backfires.
Well, the thing is there was certain times where they tried to slow it down a little bit, and it just didn't work out. The times where they did get aggressive, Himmelsdorf especially, when they got aggressive there on the defense, they kind of did an offhand rotation, did it early. They did something different. It worked out for them. Murovanka, same thing. They changed it up. They got aggressive. They went for the pushes. And that ended up backfiring on them, but that was more of the late-game coordination from Rival not being cutthroat enough, essentially. And that's something that you can change just from doing a little bit more practice, focus fire a little bit better, just be a little bit cleaner in the individual area of it.
I think that's a big feedback right now for Rival out of this one is second step. What do you do after you go into the second phase of the match, or the battle, I should say, specifically? When you go into that second part of the battle where you've already done your setup and now you have to adjust. Rival had a lot of trouble with that.
Yep, and Merle Shikta, sorry to cut you off here, Merle Shikta doing 389 fantasy points on the second page. Akako coming in there, 343. It looks like those two were first and second for their team. Pompous just below Akako. So pretty solid stuff there from top tier. Rival, once again, they have those moments. They show the promise, but they haven't been able to turn it into a complete win so far.
Yeah, and top tier. From what we heard on their comms, what we heard from their team, they're in good spirits. They have a very...
That's one way of putting it.
Being able to make a joke and laugh about something says that you're comfortable, right?
Definitely.
And being able to also, when I noted this, get serious all of a sudden, like what we heard the team call them to do, is...
Well, and that's, you got to remember, this is Rude Awakening's team. He rules it with an iron fist, so, he realizes people need to have fun, but when it's go time, he expects everyone to be serious, and I'm pretty sure they know that if they keep goofing off once it needs to be go time, their head's going to be on a chopping block.
Exactly. And actually, to speak to that, we actually have a winner's interview ready. Welcome back to the broadcast, Rude. That was a good match from you guys, sir. I want to start off talking about the listening we had with your team. This is cute. We heard you guys start off. A few of you guys made a little joke here and there, but all of a sudden you just said, guys, listen up, and you made a call. You just broke down the entire battle. You actually predicted everything about what Rival was doing perfectly, and it was phenomenal. What goes into that?
Well, I'll be honest. I think today we were just... I'm really disappointed with the way we played today. I think we can play a lot better. We had good reads on them many times. Based on some few spotting checks, I think we kind of figured out where they were, but overall, we definitely need a lot more work on map knowledge, certain spotting checks, especially on Himmelsdorf.
Oh my goodness.
Especially, it was just, I honestly, we still have some work to do, but we're very fortunate to walk away with a victory today.
Because I don't think you got to see what we saw when Rival pulled that Himmelsdorf attack, what they did was they hid just north of the banana, around one of the first
The
bends.
7 line.
Yeah, the 7 line right there, and they just busted down there the moment you guys got on cap.
Look, we knew that was one of their two plays. They had two plays. They had either the play of going down the banana, or they had the play to kind of flex over to the west. And of course, they had kind of a 2.5% chance play of maybe pushing the hill. But we had exits. I asked exits to cover the hill. It was a bad call because honestly, the mistake there was that I thought we had lights on the banana, and we didn't. So there was just some map knowledge problems.
Yeah.
But overall, we played well, but we have to play a lot better than this.
Okay. That's good feedback. Overall, though, I thought that was strong responses from your team when you guys were put into a tough situation. I think battles 1 and 2 on Muravanka, where you guys were put on the back foot, a huge disadvantage at a crucial time in the battle. Yeah. How do you keep your team focused in that? Because you did it. I saw you do it. You managed to keep them on point, and you pulled back in a fight. What goes into that?
If we could just play as well as we practice, we will do quite well in these matches. It's coming together. It's coming closer and closer together. We seem to be on either an upslope or a downslope, but every week, we get higher and higher and higher. So we're playing much better. On Muravanka, we made a ton of mistakes. It's just not even funny. We had an idea of what they were going to do. They did a really good counter defense on us. I'm guessing they watched our replays. They kind of knew our tendencies. And also, they had a decent trap set up also on their attack. We almost were going to walk into it, but I decided to kind of go in there and spot it for the team. We had a few unfortunate bounces, a few unfortunate pre-aims, I guess. But overall, it's just getting better at the map knowledge, knowing the angles better, and we're definitely getting there. We're definitely getting there.
All right. Well, thank you for showing up. Rox and I thought that was an impressive match. It just showcased a lot of your strengths. So thank you so much for coming back on the show, and thank you for playing tonight for us. Wish you the best of luck in round robin number 2. And
thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
The games really begin now.
Oh, yeah.
The games really begin now.
Oh, yeah. So thank you so much. We'll see you on the battlefield, sir.
Yep. See ya. Bye-bye.
Okay. So, Rude